Darnell Family Origin by Sarah Darnell. Much of my family origin began with my great-great-grandma Gilmore. She was Comanche Indian, and she also had some English blood running through her. Her husband was murdered when he was in his early 20s, so we really have no information on much of the Sparks family, which was my grandma's side of the family. My great-grandpa, who unfortunately I do not have a picture of, was born in Illinois. In 1910, they have on record that they lived in Woodrow, Oklahoma. In 1987, one of my family members, George Carroll, moved to Newkirk, Oklahoma, and settled down there. Much of my dad's side of the family was born in Oklahoma, and they just eventually stayed there. Walter Barrett, who was on my grandma's side of the family, was part Cherokee Indian. He was born in Lake Western Indian Territory in Oklahoma. And my grandma said recently Oklahoma has declared that that is no longer Indian Territory, so we don't really have much information on where that was located or anything of that nature. Walter's wife was born in Lincoln, Nebraska, and no one really knows how they got together and why they decided to just stay in Oklahoma. We're going to fast forward to the late 1970s. There, pictured is my dad, my Uncle Michael, and my Aunt Mary Lynn. My dad grew up in Oklahoma, and he lived there for much of his life. When him and my mom got married in 1990, they moved to Wichita so my dad could work at Cessna and have a job. A short time later, my uncle graduated from college and got married, and he and his wife actually moved to Ohio for job opportunities out there. Before that, though, my Aunt Mary Lynn got married to my Uncle Gary, and they stayed in Grady County, which is where my grandparents live. And when I was little, my uncle was actually killed by a drunk driver, but my aunt still resides in Chickasha, Oklahoma, which is in Grady County. Like I said, my parents were married in 1990. 5 years later, in 1995, I was born. 3 years after that, in 1998, my sister was born. Now, 25 years later, my parents are still married. We currently live in Hayesville, Kansas, and I plan on staying here as long as I can. My cousins Carrie and Michael, pictured on the left with my Aunt Mary Lynn, still reside in Chickasha, Oklahoma, where they live 15 minutes from my grandparents. On the right are pictured my cousins Cooper and Kennedy. They live in Ohio, and we get to see them every so often. Now to my mom's side, the Dacus side of the family. My grandma Dacus was born in Arkansas, and my grandpa was born and raised in Oklahoma. Somehow he and my grandma got together and they moved to Lindsay. A short time after that, when my mom was only 18 months old, they moved to Sorrel, Oklahoma, which is a very, very small town in southern Oklahoma. Pictured on the right is a family picture of all of us grandkids that was taken in 2000. Now, many of my cousins are married and have children of their own. There's not a lot of information on the Dacus side of the family. Mom said that most of her family was born and raised in Oklahoma, and they just decided to live there to be close to family and other things. This project was really fun to get to dig into my heritage a little bit, and I'm excited to see if my parents and my grandparents find any more information about where our family came from.